Welcome to the deep dive. We take your sources, unpack them, and pull out the insights that matter for you.
And today we're really focusing on just one source, a chapter called Imagination, the workshop of the mind.
Right. And this isn't, fuzzy thinking or just art class stuff. The text frames imagination as fundamentally practical. It's where desire, that raw impulse, gets shaped into actual plans.
Exactly. Our goal here is to dig into what this text claims imagination really is, how it's supposed to work, its power, and specifically how understanding it is positioned as the fifth step towards turning desires into real results, even wealth.
It definitely challenges how most of us think about it, not just some vague creative thing, but the actual workshop where intangible ideas start to become tangible.
Yeah, get ready for some perspectives that might, well, shift how you view your own mind's potential.
Okay, so let's start there. Imagination as the workshop of the mind. The text kicks off with a pretty bold statement. It's the faculty where we create all our plans.
It takes that initial spark, that desire, and gives it shape, form,
Right.
action.
And the potential described is huge. The source flat out claims that humans can create anything they can imagine. That's quite a claim.
It really sets the bar high, doesn't it?
Mhm.
And it argues our current age, with all its rapid change and constant information, is actually the best time ever for using imagination.
Think about the speed of innovation now. It makes sense.
And to back this up, the source looks back 50 years from when it was written. It points to things like harnessing nature electricity, things like that, conquering the air,
Flying, yeah.
instant global communication, using the ether, as they called it then, analyzing the sun from millions of miles away, just with the mind and instruments,
Incredible leaps.
and even recognizing the brain itself as like a broadcasting and receiving station for thought, and predicting future travel breakfast in New York, lunch in San Francisco.
That last one certainly hits home now. But even with all this power, the text points out a key limitation.
Let's say.
It says, our only real limit within reason isn't external circumstances, but how well we develop and use our own imagination.
So we've barely scratched the surface, according to this view.
Pretty much, we're just starting to use it in a very kind of elementary way.
Okay, so if we're underutilizing it, how does this workshop actually function? How does the text break it down?
It makes a distinction between two main forms. There's synthetic imagination and creative imagination.
All right, let's take synthetic first. What's its job?
This is the one we use to arrange old concepts, existing ideas, plans we already know, into new combinations.
Okay, so it's working with the familiar stuff.
Exactly. Stuff from our experience, education, observations. The text says it's what inventors mostly use, or anyone planning, really, unless they hit a wall where rearranging isn't enough.
And the key point here is,
Crucially, the source states synthetic imagination creates nothing fundamentally new. It just remixes what's already there.
got it. So what about the other one, creative imagination? Sounds different.
It is. It's described in much more profound terms. The text presents it as the link, the direct communication channel, between our finite mind and something it calls infinite intelligence.
Okay, infinite intelligence, that's a big concept.
Yeah.
How does that connection manifest?
Well, this is where, according to the source, we get hunches, inspirations. All the truly basic, original, or brand new ideas apparently come through this creative faculty.
Hunches and inspirations. Interesting.
And it also suggests this faculty can somehow pick up on, well, thought vibrations from other minds, maybe intuitive insights, resonant ideas.
And how do we access this? Does it just happen?
The source says it works automatically, but, and this is a big but, only when the conscious mind is vibrating at an extremely rapid rate.
Vibrating rapidly, what triggers that?
Strong emotion, particularly intense desire. That's the stimulus.
So it's not passive. You need that internal energy, that drive.
Precisely. And here's something really important. This creative faculty gets better, more alert, more receptive the more you use it.
Like exercising a muscle.
Exactly like a muscle. Its development comes through application. That's a point worth really thinking about.
And who develops this, according to the text?
The examples given are, the great leaders in business, industry, finance, but also artists, musicians, poets, writers, people who became leaders partly because they cultivated and used this creative imagination.
So both types of imagination can be strengthened with use.
Absolutely. The text is clear. Even if your imagination feels weak from disuse, you can revive it. You can build it up through conscious effort.
And for the specific goal of, say, turning desire into money, Which one does the text say to focus on?
It suggests focusing mainly on developing the synthetic imagination for that practical purpose, because that's the tool you'll most often use to build the necessary plans.
Right, because you need a plan, or maybe multiple plans, to bridge the gap between wanting something and actually getting it, especially financially.
And those plans have to be formed using imagination, drawing heavily on that synthetic ability to combine known elements in new ways.
And is there a specific action step recommended to kickstart this?
Yes, and the text puts huge emphasis on this. It's the act of reducing your statement of desire and your specific plan to achieve it to writing.
Writing it down. Why is that so important?
The source says, and I'm quoting roughly here, the moment you complete this, you will have definitely given concrete form to the intangible desire. It frames that physical act of writing as the first crucial step in making the abstract real.
So writing isn't just record keeping, it's an act of creation in itself.
That's the idea. It urges you to even read that sentence aloud, slowly, to grasp that writing it down starts the process of solidifying the thought.
That's powerful. And the text draws a parallel here, doesn't it?
A really powerful one. It says, when you work to convert your desire into reality, you're using the same fundamental stuff, thought, impulse, energy that nature used to create the entire universe, including us.
So desire is seen as a form of energy.
Yes,
Yeah.
a focused thought impulse. And by starting with that strong desire, you're tapping into the same creative force that underlies everything. Because fundamentally, the universe is just matter and energy combined in different ways.
And the reassurance that comes with that perspective is,
And you can do it. It has been done before. It argues fortunes aren't just luck or hard work alone, but come from applying definite principles, making definite demands, using that trained imagination.
and the secret to it all.
Isn't really secret, the text suggests. Nature demonstrates these principles constantly. Think about a tiny cell becoming a complex human. The text implies that converting desire into its physical form is, in principle, no more miraculous than that.
Though it might take time to fully grasp.
Definitely. The author cautions against expecting it all to click instantly. Repetition, study, really mulling over these ideas, that's key.
Okay, so let's make this even more concrete. The source provides some practical examples, right? Stories of how ideas born from imagination actually led to fortunes.
It does, and it starts with a really famous one,
Yeah.
the story behind Coca-Cola.
Ah, yes. How does the text tell it?
It describes a young drug clerk, Asa Candler, buying a secret formula, an old kettle, and a paddle from an elderly doctor. The price, just $500.
Seems like a simple enough transaction.
For the doctor, maybe. But the text highlights that the magic, the future empire, only started after Candler added something the doctor didn't know about.
Which was?
Imagination. That's presented as the secret transformative ingredient.
And the results. We all know the brand, but what does the text emphasize?
From that $500 investment plus imagination grew this enormous global empire, a huge consumer of sugar, glass bottles, creating jobs for thousands, massively benefiting Atlanta, surviving depressions, even building a university.
Wow, so the takeaway isn't just about soda.
Not at all. It's that the entire Coca-Cola empire essentially sprang from one idea combined with imagination. It's proof, the text argues, that intangible ideas can be turned into tangible cash with definite purpose and plans.
And it suggests any sound idea could potentially do the same, thoughts or things.
Exactly. Then there's another story about a Dr. Frankensalis.
What was his situation?
His big desire was to start a new kind of college, one focused on learning by doing, a very practical, hands-on approach.
Ambitious. What did he need?
He figured he needed $1 million, which was, a lot of money back then.
And he struggled with it.
For nearly 2 years, yeah. Thinking about it constantly, wanting it, but making no real progress. Just stuck.
So what changed? What was the turning point?
According to the text, it was a shift inside him. He made a definite decision, not just a wish, a decision to get the money within 1 week.
Wow, that's specific. Did he have a plan?
Yes. He then decided on a definite plan. He would preach a sermon the next Sunday titled, "What I Would Do If I Had $1 Million."
Okay. Interesting plan. How did it go?
He prepared it. Felt like he'd been preparing his whole life for it, actually. But when he got up to speak, he apparently forgot his notes.
Oh, so he had to improvise.
Totally. He had
Yeah.
to speak straight from the heart, from his subconscious, pouring out his vision for this college.
And the outcome?
As soon as he finished, a man walked up, deeply moved, introduced himself. It was Philip D. Armour, the meatpacking magnate, and said, essentially, I believe in your vision. Come to my office tomorrow. I'll give you the $1 million.
Just like that.
He got the money within 36 hours of making that definite decision and plan.
Incredible.
Hmm.
What's the lesson the text draws from this?
It's the power of that combination. Definite purpose, burning desire, a definite plan, and unleashed imagination. It quotes an old saying, something like, God seems to throw himself on the side of the man who knows exactly what he wants if he is determined to get just that.
So it wasn't luck. It was alignment and principle.
That's the argument. It's presented as proof this universal law works. Riches come from definite demands, applying principles, using imagination, not just from hoping or even just working hard without that clear direction. Okay, moving beyond specific stories, the source also talks about the inherent value of ideas themselves, doesn't it?
It does. It makes the point that ideas born from imagination don't have a fixed price.
Yeah.
The creator sets the value.
Right. There was an example about a book publisher.
Yeah, a simple one. They just changed the title of a book. That was the idea. The act of imagination and sales jumped by over 1 million copies. The content inside was exactly the same.
Shows how powerful an idea can be, even separate from a physical product. Ideas can sell where merchandise can't sometimes.
And looking forward from the time it was written, the text saw opportunities in new fields, like radio.
What was the angle there?
It wasn't just about the technology. It was about using imagination to create new, engaging programs that would build audiences and, crucially, show advertisers real results. It required new skills, like thinking about how to convey ideas purely through sound.
And it connects this to the idea that you don't necessarily need deep experience in a field to succeed, right?
Exactly. It brings up Andrew Carnegie again. He didn't know the technical details of steelmaking inside out, but he knew the principles of purpose, planning, and organizing talent. Great fortunes, it suggests, often start when the idea creator teams up with someone skilled at implementation or selling.
But it also cautions against just waiting for luck.
Oh, absolutely. Favorable breaks might happen, an opportunity might appear, but turning that opportunity into a real, lasting asset takes consistent, determined effort. It's not passive.
The author mentions their own long journey with the Carnegie idea.
Right, 25 years of working to refine and apply that initial concept. It takes persistence. Ideas need follow-through.
And the text describes how ideas, especially when they become an obsession fueled by desire, gain their own momentum.
Yeah, it suggests they start small, maybe fragile, but as you focus on them, they gather power. They can start to sweep aside obstacles. It's like first you guide the idea, then the idea starts to guide you.
So to wrap up this section on the power of ideas, the source offers a pretty profound thought about their nature.
It does. It states that ideas, even though they're intangible, are actually more powerful and enduring than the physical brains that create them.
More powerful than the brain itself. How does it illustrate that?
With a massive example.
Yeah.
Christianity. It began, the text says, with Christ's simple but powerful idea, essentially. The golden rule.
Do unto others.
Exactly. Christ, the physical person, is gone. But that idea has lived on for 2 millennia, shaping civilizations, influencing billions of lives. It's still growing, still working in the world, potentially still fulfilling that original desire. It shows the incredible lifespan and impact an idea can have.
That really puts the potential of imagination into perspective. Okay, let's try to pull the threads together from this deep dive.
We've seen imagination presented not just as daydreaming, but as the vital workshop of the mind. It's where plans are born from desire.
Right. And it exists in two forms: synthetic, for rearranging what we know, and creative, for tapping into new insights, hunches, maybe that infinite intelligence.
And crucially, these aren't fixed capacities. We learn they can be developed, strengthened, like muscles, through deliberate use.
Absolutely. And when you combine that developed imagination with a definite purpose, a clear plan, especially one written down the text, argues it becomes this incredibly potent force for turning intangible desires into tangible reality.
We saw that illustrated with those powerful examples. Coca-Cola growing from almost nothing but an idea and imagination, and Dr. Gonzalez getting his $1 million almost overnight after making that definite decision and plan.
And underpinning all this is the concept that ideas themselves, the products of imagination, are immensely powerful, valuable, and can even outlive their creators.
So this deep dive, it wasn't just a history lesson or abstract theory. The real point is its relevance to you listening right now. According to this source, your imagination is the starting point for achieving whatever riches you're aiming for, financial, personal, whatever they may be.
It all starts in that workshop.
Exactly. So here's the thought we want to leave you with, something to mull over from this exploration. If ideas truly are these intangible forces, powerful enough to shape the world for centuries,
Yeah.
What idea are you currently nurturing in your imagination? What idea, guided by your deepest desire and a definite purpose, is maybe just waiting for you to give it form, to develop it, and potentially let it take on a life, a power all its own?